because of the world events today, we have seen such massive changes over the last 5 years in the security world. And the big difference in the regular security companies that we've seen out there and the ones that are getting more progressive, bridging the gap between just a observe and report company and a company that is highly trained, that is closer to being like a police officer. We've noticed that there's been many companies that have now stepped up and really tried to get the proper training for their security officers. One of the things that I would look for is, first of all, the owners of the company, what kind of experience that they have. You've got to really take some time and look today, because there's a big difference between a general observe and report company and a high-level security company that can properly handle situations that you could see in today's world. One of the things that we like to see in a security company is training. Sec1 Security has a lot of training. We actually have 10 online classes that our officers take in threat de-escalation, conflict resolution. We teach them how to properly handcuff, properly detain, civil liabilities. So we also get a lot of our information from local law enforcement, so that we stay perfectly in line with what the laws are of the state, and also what the local law enforcement are doing in training their officers. The other thing that I would definitely look for is, it's unfortunate, but there's a lot of companies out there that have things on their belt, tools on their belt, like handcuffs and batons and pepper spray and things like that, and they aren't actually certified. One of the things you definitely want to look for is each thing that they're carrying, that they're certified in those things. So like ASP handcuffing, ASP baton, ASP flashlight is a company that we use. It's ASP. And then Saber pepper spray. So we get all of our officers are actually certified in all of those things. And then you step up into even more less than lethal tools, like maybe a taser. Well, if an officer's carrying a taser, they have to be certified and trained extremely well on how to do that. I think that, again, the most important thing is that the officers are trained verbally in verbal de-escalation. We see a lot of times where you've seen on the news, and you guys have probably seen this too, a lot of times these officers that are jumping the gun, grabbing a hold of somebody, they're not de-escalating. They're talking to the clients in a way that is going to escalate the client to get upset. I think that it's extremely important that you spend time when you hire a security company around the nation and make sure that those officers are highly trained and that they hold a standard that's much higher than even some of the, like, for example, here in Las Vegas, we have the Private Investigation Licensing Board, and they're amazing. They do a really great job for us. They have a standard on shooting firearms. And I think that what we do is we actually put our officers under pressure and have them score high as well. Because in a real live situation, you're going to have a lot of pressure. You're going to have a lot of tension. So again, looking at security companies, you definitely want to spend a lot of time asking them those questions. The other thing is insurance. I'm going to tell you, I know from experience that I've had many clients that have hired us because they've seen out there that the insurance that a lot of security companies have is inadequate. I'll give you a really super good example of that. If you have, say, like we take care of cannabis facilities here in Las Vegas, and if you have an insurance policy And it very well could have an exclusion in the insurance policy that doesn't cover cannabis facilities, but the company potentially will still take that account even though it has an exclusion. And then the problem is that when there's a lawsuit, you're not covered by their insurance. The insurance has to have the other thing is that 8 out of 10 insurance companies, and this is a real key piece of information for you, is take a look at their insurance policies. Security companies will have insurance that's very inexpensive that has an exclusion for assault and battery. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you ever get a lawsuit from a person who's got hurt, that exclusion for assault and battery, you won't have coverage. And 8 out of 10 insurance companies have assault and battery exclusions. The reason why security companies have those is because they're way cheaper than getting the proper policy that covers you in an assault and battery. And every lawsuit is going to be an assault and battery lawsuit. It's not like the security company is going to get a lawsuit for a slip and fall. A company would, but not a security company. Your hired security company is going to engage people that are upset. Sometimes they assault the security officers, and especially if it's in an environment like a nightclub or a cannabis facility, or even I was talking to a client here in Las Vegas that actually has a food. I'm not going to mention the particular food place, but they have a food place here, and it has a drive-through. And there's a lot of homeless in the area, and the homeless happen to be getting aggressive with the people who are going through the drive-through, and they're saying, "Give me some." Like they're basically kind of badgering them to give them money, and if they don't, they get upset. They start yelling at the customers and stuff. So they hire a security company to go in there and stop that. Well, in that situation, if there's a lot of homeless people in a specific area, the homeless people can become aggressive. And if your officer doesn't know how to handle that, that could be a big problem in properly de-escalating those situations. We have had in our past, we've had people pull out baseball bats. 2 times in my career, people have pulled out axes and to my officers, and thank God my officers were able to back up, pull out the appropriate tools, and unfortunately, they would have the right at that point. It's a deadly weapon. So they could have shot someone in that situation. In both situations, one, they were able to back up far enough. The person didn't become aggressive towards them. The other situation, we used a taser, which they were highly trained to do. And there was no lawsuits from those. And even if you do get a lawsuit, you definitely want to have the proper insurance, right? So I think to kind of recap what we're talking about here, proper insurance is huge. Make sure you read their policy, because you'll have a security company that will have a low charge rate. And of course, you want to save money because we understand that you're a business. But if they don't have the proper insurance, then unfortunately, it's not going to be good if you get a lawsuit, because you will not be covered by their insurance. And then their officers are highly trained, especially if you have any business that's dealing with the public, with the general public. If you have any homeless in the area, if you have general public that comes in and purchases things, there's always a potential for issues there. So you want to check the training. Make sure that you see what that looks like. I provide my clients with training certifications that, from my officers. So they know all of those officers are trained and certified in each specific thing. And then our standard happens to be higher than most that we see that's out there. But you definitely want to take a look at their training and then speak with the owners directly, find out what their background is, and make sure that they are a company that is willing to protect you and engage if someone was to, say, pull out a firearm, baseball bat, a knife, or anything like that. Now, if you're a company that just would like to have observe and report officers, then I completely understand that. There's a lot of people that will hire, maybe they have a warehouse or something like that. They don't want the officer to engage. That's completely fine, but make sure that that's in your contract. The contracts are something else that you definitely want to have lawyers look over those contracts and make sure that it's beneficial, of course, for both parties, but always look at it. If something does happen, are you covered? Is the insurance company that's attached to the security company able to cover you? On top of your agreement is rock solid as to who the responsible parties are in that situation. So I think that all of those things together will help you to hire a proper security company. And then also, make sure that when you go into a situation where you're going to hire a security company, that you have a company that's actually willing to do a security assessment for you first. What we do as a company is we step in, we'll take a real close look at your property, go on the busy nights or days and say, okay, this is what it looks like, and give you a proper security assessment. A lot of times, owners of properties and, they'll say, I'd like to have this, this, and this. They line out what they think. But honestly, you want to hire a security professional to tell you how to properly protect your property and your people. There's more than just protecting, from assets and different things, protecting from people from breaking in and stealing. If you have employees, the company's protecting your employees and your management, and that's we as a company take that very serious. So make sure that you really take a close look at the contract, the company, and the training, and then you'll find a very good company. And I'm going to tell you that you'll see, security companies are really trying to step up to the plate. In, like I said, the last 5 years, I would say 98% of the security companies that were out there are just observe and report. But there are companies now that are stepping up and properly protecting the client.